This is Matt for Boxing Social, in association with Empire Fight Store and our Kings. Look, today we're doing a bit of something different. We've talked about this for a while now, doing a little something, whether it be a podcast, reactions. So we're just going to sort of shoot from the hip and see where this goes. But we've been joined by the infamous Radio Raheem joining us tonight. Radio, appreciate you jumping on. Look, we've got a lot to sort of digest from the weekend.
It's a hell of a weekend.
Yes. I want to start in Belfast. I really want to start there. I was there ringside, watched the fight. A good build-up, an electric atmosphere. But from your point of view, I want to hear from watching at home on the TV, sort of your perception of what happened and see if it sort of marries up from my view ringside.
It's credit to you because we were at Eubank Ben press conference and you were like, oh, I got to get to Belfast. And I was like, why? You're like, fucking Crocker-Donovan, it's happening. I'm going to the press conference. I'm like, you're going to Belfast for a press conference? For what? Crocker-Donovan. Now, listen, I'm over on this side of the pond. I am covering UK boxing. I am not schooled up on every single UK boxer and all the backstory. I know these names, but the truth is I wasn't read in on the rivalry. I wasn't even considering covering the fight. It didn't just seem like the level that would take me to Ireland to do. And you were so excited about it that I had to be like, well, wait a minute, I've clearly fucking missed something here. I need to dial in to what's happening. And then I do exactly that come fight night, because my fight that I'm paying most attention to is Davis Roach. But this, Donovan fight, yeah, okay, Crocker, Donovan, this is going to be good. Let me see. This is what my man Matty has told me. Boy, this was a fucking barn burner. I was loving it. And then I was like, uh-oh. This is going to have everybody fuming. I got to tell you, I don't understand the outrage. I thought the referee did exactly what the referee should have been doing.
Yeah.
Like, what is all of this? Like, what is everybody clutching their pearls about? Like, it was fairly obvious to me on television. Now, maybe in person, it looked different.
So there's a few things to sort of digest from this scenario. I think the most important one is we'll clear up the last sort of what would have been point off the one that was sort of was the final blow. I think everyone's in agreement that's after the bell. I don't think there's anybody arguing that fact, whether he was in mid-flow, whatever's happening. The thing you'd say about the last sort of sequence of punches is the referee must have known it's coming towards the end of the round. Paddy Donovan is clearly in the ascendancy. He'd already knocked him down once. Lewis was struggling. As it's getting towards the end of the round, the referee should be there, well, in case he's in that flurry, so that, when the bell goes, he's like, no, that's done. As in to step in and sort of put his hands on and go, that's it. Referee should, in my opinion, be a little bit closer to the action because once that bell goes, obviously it wasn't a full flurry, but if Paddy was in full flurry, Lewis could have then taken extra blows, in my opinion, after the bell, which he had no need to take. But Paddy threw it late. It lands with Paddy that. But the referee, I think, would have done better.
Before you continue, though, because this is a point I've heard made. And yes, the referee could have been in better position.
Should.
I mean, when you run a red light, there should be a cop there to stop you so that you don't hit an oncoming traffic.
No. There's not enough police to cover a red light.
Listen. It is not the referee's responsibility to stop the fighter when the bell rings. It's the fighter's responsibility to stop himself. And if the referee is there and able to throw himself into harm's way to stop a punch that's clearly started after the bell, then by all means, he should do that. And he should be in the best position to do that as possible. But if he's not, it's not down to him. The clapping, when the clap happens 10 seconds out, I'm hoping the referee shouts, stop at the bell. Usually they do that. But it's still the fighter's responsibility. And I'll let you jump in, but I got one more point on this.
I just want to say, so one thing that was quite unique about this, I think if this wasn't such a big fight now, if you've ever been to Belfast, the atmosphere is electric. The noise in that place. Now, they are going to say we didn't hear the bell. They are going to say that. So you can only take them for what they're saying. But you couldn't really hear. Like obviously it comes through loud on the TV, everything's connected up. So I think I feel like it could have been better for enough. But I actually, like I said, that does land. It does land on Paddy. Like they said, they couldn't hear the final bell. So I can only take them for what they're saying. But after he threw the punches, obviously he's then started walking back to his corner. Maybe he thought he'd stopped Lewis and that was it, and he was going to a neutral corner. I don't know, but I just feel like obviously the referee would have been more aware of that clapper than the fighters because it was so loud, and the referee obviously, 10 seconds, he's aware, rah rah rah, you know, can see Paddy's, like I said, coming into that ascendancy where this fight's getting close to going, and it's like, yeah, bell's gone, rah rah rah. I think he could have been a little bit more close to the situation, but I don't think there's any doubt that is no issue with being like a point off or whatever it came to. It wasn't an immediate DQ. I think it was a culmination of what had happened.
All right, let me put myself in the position of the referee. And one caveat that you have to make is that you were ringside and I'm watching it on TV. Those are two vastly different experiences, right? Yeah. So what I'm seeing is a lot more detail. I'm seeing replays. I'm hearing the comms. I'm able to notice things that are very small where I accept that it's almost impossible for you to notice at ringside. Like you'd have to be at best where the referee is to see these things. So with that said, the headbutts that caused the 2 points deduction in previous rounds is another point of contention. And I would imagine if I'm ringside, I'm seeing both fighters coming in with their head down. It looks like they're leading with their head, right? Yeah. When your hands are up like this and you're coming in, I don't think that's what I would consider leading with your head like a spear, right? Like, yes, you're crouching in and you're coming in, but your guards are up, your gloves are here. You're not spearing with your head. When I'm seeing inside, when they're both inside, ducked like this, on television, I'm seeing Paddy make moves like this. Yeah. Like he's doing some spearing inside. Yeah. And he's hitting them with elbows.
So I actually, from the rear naked eye view from ringside, obviously, and we have a cameraman near us, so you've not got a full picture. But Lewis Crocker's sort of style of fighting would tend to be hands there, he walks you down, immense pressure, and he has an unbelievable amount of power. So to negate that, I think Paddy and Andy Lee have come up with this terrific game plan where they close the distance that much where Lewis can't really get that shot off, and they use the footwork and pivoted. And I think Sonny Edwards explained it to me after the fight because he's very much like what you said. This is the correct decision, no issues. He was trying to say that obviously Lewis was like this coming forward, not really any danger, whereas Paddy was dipping the head in. But like I said, Tony Bellew made the point of he was of the opinion as well, and he had the same position I think as Sonny, that they were both going in with the heads at times, and only one fighter got penalised or warned or whatever for it. So like I said, I have no issue with the actual last part of the fight, but from ringside, this is why I think it's important we actually did this, because from TV, I had someone message me the same thing you're saying, wow, that's dirty. And we've seen over the years, for instance, a Floyd Mayweather, for example, when he gets into that shell and he's palming fighters off, it's almost like a bit of, not saying it's right, but gamesmanship, spot where you're like, you know what you're doing, but you're getting away with it kind of thing. You're towing that line. Now, the points I just felt at the time, it was almost like they were both, I felt they was maybe both doing it. And I was like, I get the angle Sonny was coming from, but like Lewis,
the thing is, Maddie, they're not both doing it. They're both doing one thing, but not everything. They're both coming in with their heads down, but with the guard up. If you're not spearing with your head, I wouldn't consider that a head. But I would. You could say a referee could be like, "All right, guys, don't lead with your head." I'm not even sure that it amounts to that if both guys have their guards, their gloves in front of them, and they're just coming in crouched. Okay. But once they're inside, I think people on television are seeing Paddy use his head as a bit of a spear. They're seeing him make make movements. It looks like a duck, whatever, but it's still coming up and hitting the guy and then closing the eye. So by the time the punch comes after the bell, eye's already shut. Maybe he sees that punch coming. If his eye hasn't been shut by headbutts, it's difficult to not give him a DQ at that point.
I think I understand. Look, I understand, and when Sonny explained it, I was like, yeah, if that's what you've seen from their point. I've been back today a few hours, and I've already been out, and I've not had a chance to watch this back yet. So whoever anyone's saying in the comments, I haven't actually had the time to watch this back. Just things have been going on, but I appreciate the points. What I think this does do, though, is I'm not sure it'll happen because Lewis is in a position where he can now go on and fight for a world title, the winner of Jerome Boots Ennis and Stanionis, which obviously is a great fight. So the ball's in his court. He can say, I'll wait. But I have a feeling, and I think what the best thing would be to do is to see this rematch because the fight was going one way. I know the headbutts, the people saying, oh, that's a lot to do with it, but I thought Paddy was in control for the majority of the fight, prior to the first one, even after that. And Lewis tends to come on strong late, so I get why maybe he's frustrated because he'd be like, well, I would have started coming on into the fight. But I think we need to see it again to sort of decide who fights, but that's up to Lewis.
I'd like for them to do it again just so I can be there this time. I blew it by not even going.
I'm telling you.
You did tell me. I was like, we'll see.
No,
you were absolutely right.
You need to trust me more now. I'm telling you, these fights, Ireland's the place. Like when,
with that said, I'm Crocker. I've gone to his backyard. I've been fouled 3 times.
No, Paddy was in Crocker's backyard.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Paddy's from Limerick, not from Belfast. This was a pro Crocker crowd. It was. I promise you, if you're making that ring walk and that crowd isn't for you, it can be an intimidating place to be, and you have to have that. You have to have that certain thing inside you that can block that noise out to perform, and that's what I think was quite impressive. Paddy did that because Paddy has his supporters, but that was a pro Crocker crowd in a very hostile environment. So I just want to see it back.
I want to see it. I want to see it back too. But if I'm Crocker, let me get this right. If I'm Crocker, he's come to my backyard. He's beaten me on the cards. Mm-hmm. I would, if the fight stops there, we go to the cards. Crocker's losing that fight on my card, right?
Yeah.
Now, is it down to the headbutts, the closed eye? All of that becomes academic if you go to the cards. Like, who's to say? You got the points deducted, whatever. I think even with the point deductions, he's still losing the fight, right? So, do I want that again? Or do I want a title shot and maybe revisit this rematch as a champion? I don't know if I'm Crocker, if I'm just taking that fight with the reasonable explanation that this guy headbutted me, elbowed me, hit me after the bell, closed my eye. I got to heal up. By the time I'm healed up and ready to fight at 100%, I'm taking that title shot.
But you know as well as I do, when you're mandatory, it sounds great. You could get moved on, and then he might waste a year of his career waiting. When I actually think it probably is more of a financial gain for him. Although it's everyone's dream to become world champion, he will back himself to not just have the one world title fight in his career. He's still, 28, I think. The fight with Paddy, more than likely, he will still be able to say Paddy has to come to Belfast again, which I'm sure Paddy, as much as he'll want to do it in Limerick and Dublin or closer to his home, he will bend to that, I think. But the money involved now for this card, especially on Lewis's end, like Lewis will be able to say, look, I'm in this position. I don't have to do this. I want this amount of money, make it happen. So the ball is in his court. He holds the cards. And it'll be a case of will Paddy and Lewis get the offers to entice them? I mean, Paddy's obviously down for it. He doesn't want that on his record. He wants to revisit that. I just think that is such a good fight to come back to.
I think that fight will be there for Crocker. He can take his shot if he does indeed get it, which I think we're in an environment now where guys are not waiting a year to get these shots. Like these fights are rolling. They want more events.
Yeah.
They want more with all this Riyadh seats and all these major cards. These guys are actually in the queue for a lot less time. So go take your title shot. Maybe you shock the world and get that title, if it is Jerome Bennis, or you lose it and then you come back to this fight. Like and it's still as big, and it's even bigger if you somehow get the title and make it a title fight in the rematch.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you do that? Why would you take this fight again?
And also, if say Stanionis and Boots, we don't know which way that fight's going to go. Obviously, everyone will favourite Boots. Stanionis, I think, is very underrated, great fighter, and we don't know. There's been a lot of talk about Boots moving up in weight. We could see a scenario if Boots wins of him saying, "I'll leave the belt. I'm moving up." That belt.
Then the rematch is for the belt. That's fantastic.
Then
it makes good sense.
That is the one.
Sure, of course.
It'll make sense either way, because Crocker's in a position where he gets to fight for a title, or he gets this fight where financially he secures himself as well again. Like there's a lot of money in that fight.
But for Crocker, that fight is there, and the money for that fight will still be there, even if he loses to Ennis.
Maybe.
For sure. I didn't even know about this shit. Now I'm excited to see it. You think I love the Ennis makes me not want to watch it?
I'm telling you, like I tried telling you.
I know. All I'm saying is that this fight, if it happens before or after Crocker gets a title shot, no matter what happens in the title shot, I think it's the same amount of interest.
Yeah. I think there's more of a chance of Crocker moving up in weight as well, though, because I think he would be suited to the weight class above also. So there may be a situation where he has the world title fight, win, lose, or draw. He might. But
to your point, maybe if he's moving up in weight and he's getting his title shot, maybe he's like, you know what? The guy was beating me. Why would I want to go in there and actually get beat? Yeah. I can swerve this. You can't. If a guy gets DQ'd against you, especially like with 2 points taken and then after the belt foul, you can say whatever you want to say. Mm-hmm. That fighter has a reasonable objection to fighting that guy again. He can just be like, fuck off.
He's not that type. Like, I don't think anyway. The character of him, he's a proper fighting like man kind of thing. Lewis Crocker, I think, terrific fighter. I think he'll want that fight at some point, whether it be a weight above or whatever. But let's talk about Tank. So I tried to stay up, probably to my detriment, and watch it. I've caught the majority of the highlights. There's a few things wanting to pick up on. Have you seen the fight in its entirety?
I have, yeah.
So first off, how did you score it? And B, what did you make of the knee for the alleged grease in the eye? What did you make of it?
I had Roach winning 13-15 15-13 without the knee.
Right.
With the knee, obviously, he wins by a wider margin. And even on the judges' scorecards with the knee, he wins those two cards that were draws. And I am really shocked that the referee took direction from Tank. He started counting correctly and was convinced by the fighter that he should stop, which is like, what is happening? There's no world in which taking a knee is not a knockdown. And it was maybe not the result of a punch. I'm not saying that Roach knocked him down, but he did land a punch, and maybe it wasn't the effectiveness of the punch that stopped the action for Gervonta, but I take him at his word that it was in fact his hair and the grease and the burning. However, taking a knee. They're calling it taking a knee in the post-fight press conference. And you put that knee on the ground, you're stopping the action, and then you go to your corner and get assistance. That's a knockdown. Yeah. And the story of that fight to me was that Gervonta Davis had lost focus to the degree due to maybe the frustration of him not being able to knock Roach out and the challenge that Roach was presenting that Davis was not expecting, or the things outside of the ring that was making Gervonta Davis talk about retirement before the first bell even rung.
Yeah. Do you think? Do you think Gervonta knew it was going to be as difficult a fight as it was? And I say difficult. He still won. Right. He still won his rounds in there. I see some people saying, they thought he won just, and they like your opinion. I had a few people say that they had that scorecard. Do you think that he did know? They're familiar with each other anyway. They are familiar. I think they've. Like I said that they had the spars or their amateurs. I can't remember which one. And he looked quite comfortable at the weight, Lamont Roach. To say he was moving up, he looked quite.
He looked bigger.
He looked a big dude. Now that's Tank stature is not overly a big guy, so maybe that's just like a look, and people maybe do look bigger than him. But ultimately, normally his power sort of equalizes the size difference a lot of the time. But they stood and traded in there, and both men, I thought, commend them both for taking the shots they did because they were going at it. I think round 9, back and forth. I think Tank got caught with a crisp shot. But then, he didn't waver. He fired back and caught Lamont Roach. That's one that you want to see run back. I don't think Tank said it might not be next, but that you want to see that run back.
I do want to see a run back. To answer your question, I do believe that Tank was surprised at how well Roach was able to take his power and return fire. I believe Roach was more than what Davis thought he would be. And Davis was frustrated, especially down the stretch of that fight, at not being able to hurt Roach or to stop Roach and not being able to execute Davis, I'm saying, the game plan that he had in his mind because Roach was not playing ball. It was a night of frustration. I think it was a night of a lack of focus. I think it was a night of a certain level of entitlement from Gervonta Davis just thinking, and apparently correctly so, that he could officiate his own fight. The fact that he put his knee down and didn't expect that to be called a knockdown is just a loss of focus. He's not an amateur fighter. He's not just learning the game. He knows what taking a knee means. He even calls it taking a knee. And the fact that it wasn't counted as a knockdown is the difference in the fight. And it wouldn't have relied on my card on that knockdown for Roach to win it. But the fact that ultimately on the official cards that the knockdown or the lack thereof was the difference, you have to run it back. You have to run it back. And you have to give all credit to Roach for his performance and his humility in the buildup. People were talking mad shit to his face. He was on major podcasts where they were disrespecting him like he had no chance. I don't know anybody in the media, including myself, that was giving him a chance to win. And most people were just assuming he was getting knocked out in the middle rounds, not even the late rounds.
Yeah,
I think he came in there and did the business, and he was willing to be humble and roll with some of the jokes that were on him as the punchline, even in the buildup, and he still went in there and was able to execute exactly what he believed he was capable of and what he said he would do.
Yeah, I think credit to him. I think loads of people in the media, and I don't think maybe it was disrespect. I think maybe they just thought, obviously, the run that sort of Tank's on and the stepping up in weight to take on the current champion is a huge disadvantage. But what it looked like to me was that Lamont Roach was completely at home with that weight above. Maybe it helped him. The fact that he could have them extra few pounds. You see sometimes the guys that move up, they don't carry the power, the energy's a little bit sapped. It looked like he had the energy. And I don't think that was, I think that's just maybe natural for him, the fact that that's just something that works. It's going to be an interesting sort of run now to the mid to late part of the year because Tank's alluded to the fact that fight might not be next and that there is something else.
Yeah.
There's been a deal in the background done for Shakur?
I don't know if that's the case. I would be surprised, but at this stage of Riyadh season, I'd say anything is possible. I don't think that's the fight he's talking about, though. I feel like he's talking about some other fight. And to be fair, I don't even want to see Tank Shakur before I see Tank Roach 2. I don't think I want to see a Tank who doesn't want that rematch. He knows at the very minimum he got out of there by the skin of his teeth with a draw. And I don't want to see a Tank who's okay with that. I want to see a Tank who wants that rematch, who demands that rematch, who puts it in front of whatever he had planned so he can put an exclamation point on the fact that this was just an off night and not his level. I need a fighter who has that mentality. There's no other fight that should be more important to Tank than making sure that people know Lamont Roach is not better than me, that Lamont Roach had a good night, but this was a fluke, that I am the Tank that everybody thought would knock this guy out in the middle rounds, and I'm still the beast of this division. If you swerve this fight for any other fight, including Shakur Stevenson, your stock falls for me.
Even Shakur.
I want if you ask me, do I want to see Tank versus Shakur, or do I want to see Tank versus Roach? I'm saying I want to see Tank versus Roach. And you know the fight I want to see second to Tank versus Roach? Roach versus Shakur. You know the fight I want to see third? Tank versus Shakur. Like that fight right now, Roach is the guy to beat right now, to me, for either one of those guys. But for Tank, I want to see a Tank who doesn't want anybody else on the other side of that ring before he sets this wrong right in his own mind. I want a guy who thinks like that. If he's okay with this just being cataloged in the annals of history, I'll get away with the draw and move on. I think the Tank that we once knew may not be the one we have now. And, you know, he talked about retirement. He's got maybe other things on his mind. Maybe that is not what is primarily important to him anymore. But if it's not, then that's not the guy that we once knew. I think it is. I think ultimately when the dust settles, whatever he had planned, I think this is not going to sit well with him. I think this is not going to allow him to sleep at night. I think he's going to want to get back in there with Roach, and that will be next.
I agree. I think whether it is directly next or not, I think they do run it back. I don't think he lets that lie. I think that will, I don't want to say annoy him, but he will feel he'll be able to go back and put that wrong right. That's my opinion from the guy that we see over the years, that kind of thing will be like, no, I need to get back. I need to get back.
Yeah. He's a champion. He's a true champion. He's a warrior. He's a fighter. I don't believe that he's going to just be able. I think it'll be next. I think he will not be able to rest without it being next. Once this really like sinks in, and he does watch the fight back, and he broods about what he could have done, and I lost focus there, and he was arguing with his corner and all this shit. He's not gonna allow that performance to lay even for another fight. I think he is going for his own peace of mind, going to demand the rematch right away, or at least next, if not immediately.
100%, I agree. Just to sort of finish off, I think by the time we next catch up, we'll have seen. There's obviously, I know there's a fight this coming week in Brighton. There's a card on there. I know you might not know about it, but I'll just let you know. There's a little card there, Wasserman Show. And then this week also the press conferences for that mind-blowing New York card for in the middle.
I know. Now I wish I would have went to the Tank fight so that I could be there for this press conference. That's going to be fun. Listen, man, I mean, we'll talk about that fight once they have that press conference, but I will say this. Times Square outside boxing match in May, that is a phenomenal setup. Like, what else? What else will they think of? That is going to be a spectacle. I've been covering boxing a very, very long time. I've never seen something quite like that. Times Square, these like very good card, open air, New York. How much does it cost to shut down Times Square? I want to know, but I almost don't even want to know.
Money is no object, I think, at this point, if we're being honest. It's not a question.
All right. Well,
not a question of money. It's a question of just, can we make it happen logistically?
What else can we think of, right? Exactly. I guess the aircraft carrier might be next after Alcatraz. I don't know.
I'm here for it. It's a fun age to be a part of boxing.
Yeah, it's a fun time to talk to my boy Matty too. This is good. I'm glad that we've done it. This is, you know what I mean? Why not?
We do it in person next time. It'll be better than the connection.
Absolutely.
Fluctuate.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely do it in person. Radio, appreciate you joining us. We'll catch up at the next big event. What's the next event you're covering? Just quickly.
Well, my next event will be Battle. It'll be at the Chelsea Football Club for Talk Sport.
Yes. UK versus USA.
I'll be doing Battle at the Bridge, UK versus USA. That will be April 4th.
And then Ben Eubank?
And then the next day, no, the next day I'll be doing White and
Yeah, White and
Joyce.
Joyce. Yeah, yeah.
Then I'll do Eubank Ben.
Well, we'll catch up. We will catch up at the Joyce White fight week, and we can have a complete run through and preview Eubank Ben and so on and so forth. And we'll see how
I suspect I'll see you at a press conference long before then. Something will bring us together. I'm certain of it. And if it doesn't, then we'll just have to organize a pint and we'll make it happen ourselves.
Yeah, I'm down for that. All
right, cheers, mate.
Raheem, appreciate it. Catch up soon.
Cheers.